in one of its heads as though cut and dying, and from under its own death it pulled through, and the whole world was excited by it, basically, right, enthralled in the wake of that demon. So there it could also be that the demonic force was defeated, or this conglomeration, given this great power and authority, was defeated for a time. It was nearly wiped out, but then it came back to life. Okay, and one of its heads, as though cut and dying, and from under its own death it pulled through, and the whole world was enthralled or excited by it, in the wake of that demon, right, of that inhumane creature that gave this certain ruler his power, his authority, his throne, etc. And the people, they worship the dragon, or the devil, right, so they're not of God. They're ungodly. They had their own form of belief, right? Probably pagan idols, etc., etc. Since it gave authority to that demon, okay, they worshipped the devil because it gave its authority to that demon. It came through that demon, and who could do battle with him? Okay, who could beat it? It's too powerful, right? So if it's given to a certain nation, they become like fierce, mighty, a force you can't reckon with, you can't defeat. Well, these people are looking around like, wow, they just seem to beat everybody. They conquer everybody. They're so powerful, and we're so excited, etc., etc. And we're in awe. And he, this is singular, right, was given a mouth to utter abominations. So this is a single person put into authority, given that power, given that throne, given that power, given that authority to do these things, these following things, by this demonic force behind him, behind the scenes. And he was given a mouth to utter abominations and blasphemies. What does the footnote indicator say here? (13.5) Literal Aramaic idiom or expression, total nonsense. So it's talking a whole lot of crap, right? And that we'll explain later what exactly it was. We just don't want to do it yet because that'll give the rest of it away. Okay, so he was given a mouth. He's given this authority through this demon to talk a lot of rubbish and blasphemies, right? And he's given authority to do so 42 months. Footnote indicated there. So this demon gave him that power to talk rubbish, right? To abominations and to do abominable things and blaspheme, or talk nonsense and do really atrocious things, sick things. Okay, so what does the footnote say? 42 months? He was given authority to do so for 42 months. So the footnote says, during the ministry of Jesus. Okay, and it conquered other nations, motherlands, right? Okay, so it existed during the ministry of Jesus, which was what, 42 months? 3.5 years? And he opened his mouth to blaspheme against Allah, or God. Okay, here it has Allah, right? Nothing to do with the Muslim Allah, or Illah, right? It looks pretty similar, right, in the spelling, but it's not. This is Galilean-Aramaic, the name of God, right? A name of God. Okay, so here you have Allah, Ha, which in the Aramaic we're guessing is living or breath. So it's the living God. Okay, it's why it's different from. We say it's different from the Islamic Allah is because they stress there's only one God, rather like those of the Judaic faith. There's only one God. He has no son. He has no equal, no co-equal. He's just the one God, and so forth. So that there is, we are guessing, the living God, Allah, or the breathing God, because Ha means breath or living, right? Or breath or living. To blaspheme against his name and his abode. So they're blaspheming against God and his kingdom, and against those who dwell in heaven, the heavenly host, the angels, etc. And this particular person, through this demon, was given authority over all the generations and nations and tongues and peoples, and he was given authority to do battle with the saints and to defeat them and have victory over them. And who are the saints? Those who believed in Jesus the Christ, or Yeshua Mashiach, right? Jesus the Messiah. And they worshipped him, all of them who dwelled on earth. They placed their loyalty, their allegiance to this particular person, an authority that ruled over them. Okay, he was given that power by the demon, etc. And they worshipped him, all who dwelled on earth, in that particular area, or other motherlands, etc., right, that were subject to this particular authority. How did they do that? Okay, what we've read is that the Roman Senate had a decree or a law that said, for you to sit on a throne, Mr. Caesar, you have to say that you are a son of the gods, descendant of the gods, you're a god, etc., etc. That's the blasphemy, right? The nonsense they were talking. And that's the blasphemy against God, his kingdom, and those who dwell in heaven, the heavenly angels, etc., right? By saying that, that's blasphemy. Okay? So he went all out, this particular guy in authority went all out to kill the saints, those who believed in Jesus the Christ, Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, right? Have victory over them. And they worshipped him, right? They paid allegiance through the statues created that in the Roman Empire, those lands, etc., they captured. You had to pay homage to the figure of that particular Caesar. You had to bow down to it, pay it honor, say, Ave Caesar, Hail Caesar, whatever, or else you were persecuted, you got killed, or tortured, or whatever happened to you. Many Christians, believers in Christ, and that said, no, that's idol worship. Yeah? We're not doing that. So they suffered for that. They were persecuted, they were tortured, they were killed. Yeah? You had to. That was the way of showing your allegiance. This is pushed by the Senate. Behind that is demonic power that pushed the Senate, Roman Senate, to declare this, and then this person sitting on the throne, he carried it out. He said, yeah, okay, decree, sign it, here you go. Yeah, because I'm a god, or that sort of stuff. That's what they were saying, right? Boasting, right? Okay, so all worshipped him because they're not of God, who dwelt on earth. Those whose name is not written in the book of life. They're not of Christ, right? So they're not in the book of life. Of the Lamb who was sacrificed from the foundations of the universe. Okay, so you have a footnote indicated here. 13.8. Literal Aramaic idiom or expression, cut up or consecrated. So he was holy, he's made holy through that. He was like beaten, tortured, etc., like that. He had scars, he was cut up. Okay? As prophesied from the very beginning, the book of Genesis. Look at the pictographs. Was that Dutch Uncle John? He explains it about the Hebrew, etc., or his pictographs, that Yahweh, someone else said Yahweh means YWHWH, the tetragrammaton. It actually says hand, says something like hand, nails, hand. It's a prophecy of the Christ from the very beginning that he would eventually die. It's all through his own hand, right? His God's power, etc. That he would be the willing sacrifice for the sins of the world, right? He'd willingly die on the cross, suffer, be embalmed, etc., put in a tomb, and then rise again, ascend to God's sit at the right hand throne, die for the sins of mankind, basically. All that scripture, etc., etc., right? Throughout the Bible. That was the whole thing. He came and he died for all mankind for their sins. Okay? They're washed in the blood of the Lamb, etc., etc., so they can spend eternal life with him and the Father in the kingdom, right? Okay, so this person was blaspheming during the ministry of Jesus the Christ, or Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah. Okay, so he had control over all these generations and nations and tongues of people. So this particular person having this authority and rule, he branched out and he attacked other nations, other countries around them, etc., cities, towns, whatever, and basically said, "Come under us. Okay, you're defeated. We beat you. We kicked your butt. Okay, you can come under us. Our authority, our subject, our rule. We rule your, say, your nation, your country, whatever it is. For example, say like Syria, you become a province of our empire. Okay, or else you're going to get it, right? Okay, so these people go, okay, submit and become citizens. So they start again within this Roman Empire. Okay, they're different people, they're different nations. Let's say they're the Scythians or something like that, and they've been conquered, they've been invaded and conquered, and they can come live, or that area can become a province of the powerful Roman Empire. So here it's saying the book of life and about the Lamb who was sacrificed from the foundation of the earth. So from the foundation of the earth, from the very beginning, the Genesis, right, the pictographs, etc. That's Jesus the Christ, or Yeshua Mashiach, the Messiah. And it has a note here, okay, to all those people, right, a heads up. Okay, if you are going to get captured, people, if you have ears, listen, pay attention, because you might get captured, right, by captivity you're taken. Okay, if this happens to you, believer, okay, and you get killed by the sword, or if a human being kills you by the sword, he is destined to be killed by the sword. So it's like justice quote, right? Like, he who lives by the sword dies by the sword, etc., etc., right? Okay, it's like recompense, payback, justice, okay, for what you do, what he did. It's reaping what he sowed to, right? Okay, and here it's got here, verifies that. This is the justification for the hope and faithfulness of the saints. Okay, so if you lose your life for Christ, because in that time, because they come and invade you, and you'll say, no, I'm not worshipping idols, because God said, Jesus said, whatever, blah, blah, blah. No. Okay, you're going to die. They'll kill you by the sword. Or they come and invade you, go through there, just chop your head off, kill you, whatever, right? That sort of thing. To gain your lands, your possessions, your woman, etc., as slaves. Okay, concubines or slaves or whatever, right? Okay, and so John saw another demon. So there was a second demon, inhumane creature. Okay, so here he says basically, you're justified by this, keep the faith. Because if you lose your life for Christ, you gain a life, right? You keep it. And I saw, John says he saw another demon, inhumane creature that hates man, that rose from the earth. So it come up amongst those people, right? And he had two horns, resembling those of a ram, and he spoke as a dragon. So he seems to be like, lammy, or one of the fold, religious, holy, or this and stuff. But really behind the scenes, he's a dragon. He's a devil, right? He's a liar, or that sort of stuff. He's of the devil. And all the powers of that first demon he performed before them, and he made the world, the known world, the invaded world, those under that particular rule, of this particular guy, authority, and those who dwell in it, so that they would worship that first demon, the one who became healed from under its own death. So that's what I was talking about. This demon was destroyed, etc., etc., but then it recovered. Okay, or this power, this authority that this demon put together, right? Okay, so way up here, who is it talking about? This particular person given that authority in Rome. Okay, so obviously it's Caesar, and if it's during the ministry of Jesus the Christ, or Jesus the Messiah, Yeshua the Mashiach, right, it's Tiberius. Wrong. It's Augustus. Okay, because remember, Jesus was born in that period of Augustus. Okay, and then maybe Augustus dies before him, and Tiberius takes over. Yeah, but they all blasphemed and said they were gods because of that decree by the Roman Senate. Okay, that law that was passed, legislation, right? So for him to sit on the throne, that's what he had to say. So often they did that, right? Supposedly Tiberius said, no, I'm not a god. I'm just like a human being outside, everybody else outside, the common man, so I'm not doing that. But yeah, you have to go do the research on that, because we have doubt that he actually did, because he was actually quite nasty as well. They called him the ugly emperor behind his back because he had something wrong with his face. If you watch, we don't recommend it, but I don't think there's a clean version, but there's a movie called Caligula with Malcolm McDowell, John Gielgud, Peter O'Toole as Tiberius, and so forth. It's very filthy, right? Okay, orgy-wise and all that sort of stuff, because it's done by Bob Guccione, the founder of Penthouse, the creator of the Penthouse magazine, adult magazine, all that sort of stuff. But his backers or something got told, well, we're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. You're going to take all that filth out. And he said, no, I'm leaving it that way. And apparently there was like critics and all that sort of stuff, blah blah blah. But later on, it became a popular cult movie. While Malcolm McDowell's acting as Caligula, the mad, crazy Caligula, was really spot on. Peter O'Toole as the disease-affected, ugly Emperor Tiberius. He probably had pox. He probably had something else on his face because of what he was doing, and that sort of stuff. It was said to be the most accurate film about what Rome was really like. What the councils, the senators were actually like behind the scenes, and how they started to detest this crazy Gaius Caligula, etc., and had him assassinated, and then put on a softer, more effeminate Claudius. Okay, this is all according to that movie. We don't know if Claudius I was actually that effeminate, but because on this film, because he was a softie, they could manipulate him, so they put him as the Caesar. Well, in the film it says, okay, he thought he was going to die, but they used him. Okay, they saved him and used him so they could, the Senate could make him do what they wanted him to do. Okay, so here is this false church, this false Roman empirical church, right? It had two horns like a lamb or a ram, resembling those of a ram, and he spoke as a jacket, so it was like false. It's of the devil. And all the powers of that first demon he performed before them, and he made the world, the known world, right, Rome, etc., all the people within it, and the ones that they had subject power over around them, right, and invaded, etc. Those who dwelled in it, so that they would worship that first demon, the one who became healed from under its own death, or that authority, right? That maybe this demonic force behind it set it up, right? Okay, you could say, but this is Julius Caesar come later, after his campaigns, and the people said, "Oh, can you restore the republic? Because we want the republic back," and that's what he did. But that's at a later date, so it could be something similar to that. And he performed grandiose signs, whereas even fire fell from the sky over the earth before humanity. And you have a look at the footnote indicated there, okay, and it says from below. So it's a demonic thing, okay. It came from below, okay. Maybe you got like people that in that time that could do this amazing stuff, etc., etc. Okay. He performed grandiose or grand signs, where even fire, whereas it appeared that fire fell from the sky, but it's talking about it came from above in that footnote, over the earth before humanity. And he misled those who dwelt on the earth to be the slaves of the image of that demon. Okay, so you have like Christians say, okay, there's an idol, there's a demon behind it. Okay, it's the visage of, say, the Caesar, say Tiberius, it's his image, Tiberius, Augustus, right, or Tiberius, and people got to worship it. So it's demonic, isn't it? There's a force behind it. There's a force behind the authority, etc. Why they do those wicked, evil things in their day. Okay, it's of the devil. Okay, so the image of that demon, the one who had been struck by the sword and had lived, and it was given to him to impart a spirit to the image. So this demon made it come alive, or in a sense, it's not like speaking through the image. It's like that power is giving a spirit, making it come alive through this authority figure, Augustus, and the Senate, right? You have to worship it, you have to pay homage to it. It's the Caesar, etc., etc. If you don't, you're going to get punished for not doing that, for resisting, for rebelling, for not obeying the decree or the law. Okay, so it was applied to all the citizens, everyone, right? And if you didn't worship that image or pay homage to it, you'd be killed. So anyone that was like invaded, say Scythian, whatever, barbarians, whatever, and they become Roman citizens, that's what they had to do. It was their law, right? You had to pay homage to the Caesar. You bow before it, etc., etc. If you went, no, get stuffed, then you'd be killed for that, right? You would suffer for that. So they were all enslaved. Okay, all the famous, all the popular, all the rich, the poor, and the children of the free and the slaves. So everybody that was subject under Rome, okay, they were forced to pay homage. Okay, no matter who you were, you had to pay like taxes, heavy taxes for your trade, what you earned, your products, say like wheat, etc., etc. The Romans came in and took like more than they should have, right? You know, they tax you higher, all this sort of stuff. They made it really, really hard in that period. So that's where it says, whereas to be given a mark on the right hands, that's symbolic for your work, right? What you do to survive, how you eat, etc., etc., right? Or how you make money. Okay. So we look at the footnote indicated here down the bottom here for 16, verse 16. Okay, 13:16, literal Aramaic idiom or expression, authorization, certification, stamp, seal, or commission. Okay, so perhaps in the Roman days you have like a scroll, some sort of certificate. Like, let's say for example, Paul is going to go on a ship somewhere. St. Paul's going to go on a ship somewhere to preach to non-Jews or whatever, somewhere else, right? And then he gets beaten up by these Roman soldiers or whatever, because they think he's just a peasant or whatever, you know. So they start beating him up, and then somebody goes, hey, what are you doing? This guy's a Roman citizen. So they go, oh, really? Nah. Okay, show us your certification, something like that, right? Show us that you are a citizen. Prove it, right? So he goes, and pulls out a scroll, whatever. Oh, certification. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that, you know. And someone mentioned, to us, those Roman guards will probably get killed for doing that, beating up on a Roman citizen. And so that's why Paul had access to go different nations, cities, whatever, that were under Roman rule. And that's why he could preach what he preached amongst the Romans, the Greeks, and whatever, in Rome, etc., right? Okay, so they were given a mark on their right hand, that's their trade, right, whatever they did, okay, and you've got tax and all that sort of stuff, or between their eyes. So that's a prefrontal lobe, okay? Between your eyes is your forehead, that's a prefrontal lobe. So this being, this demon through this authoritative figure, this false empirical state religion, okay, let's say church, right? Okay, the head of it, okay, he could basically control your mind. He'd like brainwash you, right, with this particular religion. Push like that, like that. If you don't submit to it, you're not loyal to it, whether you're going to probably get tortured, killed, etc. for rebelling against it, because that was the empirical state church or religion, right? Whether it was a Roman mythical mixed mash of Mithra, some Greek gods, Poseidon, whatever, right, and so forth, posing as a form of Christianity or whatever, you had to come under it, and you had to like be loyal to it, be part of it, practice it, accept it, etc., etc. If you didn't, well, you get tortured, you get killed. Okay, so that's what it means there. It's like a control of your mind through this particular religion. You had to swear loyalty to it, okay, etc. All this was done so that no one, rich, poor, etc., etc., could sell or buy at that particular era, except he who has the mark or that sign, that certification, etc., of that